a leader of an organization, how are you not close with the stars of the organization? And the dilemma right now in the WNBA is that the star players, the Asias, the Stewies, the Sabrinas, the Caitlin Clarks, they don't have a good enough relationship with the leader. The Nafisas, they don't have a good enough relationship with Cathy Engelbert. She came in and she wants all the credit for everything, but there's not enough communication between the leader and between the players. And now you got to revolt. Now everybody in the W is like, hold on, we want you up out of there. But I think the best thing I heard is, how can you negotiate if you don't communicate? And the dilemma is there's not even a negotiation, a quality negotiation right now between the players and between the W, because there's not quality communication right now between the players and between the executives for the W.
Adam Silver just did what Fever fans have been begging for. He fired Cathy Engelbert. Yep, the same commissioner who thought Caitlin Clark should be grateful just got tossed out like yesterday's trash. This changes everything, and the league is officially on fire. But before we get into the mess, let me ask you this. Do you think this firing came too late? What? So here we go. Cathy Engelbert is gone. Fired, booted, tossed out of her office chair, and straight into unemployment because she couldn't resist running her mouth about Caitlin Clark.
You should resign. You need to resign. Period. Reason I say that, doggy, is because when a player, any player, but especially one of that magnitude, attacks you publicly like that, that weak-ass statement Commissioner Engelbert gave is not good enough. And I'm going to say it. It was a weak-ass statement. Could you imagine somebody directing comments and criticisms at you, taking conversations they've had with you directly and telling the world what you said? And did you see that statement Commissioner Engelbert gave? She basically provided no defense of herself. I don't have the statement right directly in front of me, y'all.
Mischaracterization.
A mischaracterization.
She was disheartened.
I'm disheartened at the mischaracterization. What?
This is the same commissioner who thought saying Clark should be on her knees thanking the league was somehow smart. The same commissioner who let players like Alyssa Thomas throw elbows, let refs swallow whistles, and then acted shocked when fans complained about the product. And now the NBA finally said enough. Adam Silver, the boss of bosses, stepped in and made the call. And you know what? It was overdue, because when you've got players like Napheesa Collier blasting you in public, Sophie Cunningham calling you delusional, Lexi Hull backing the revolt, and an entire fan base ready to boycott, there's no way you can keep your job. Let's rewind for a second. Remember the comments that set this whole thing off? Napheesa sat there in her exit interview and torched Engelbert. She said leadership in the WNBA is the worst in professional sport. She said Engelbert dismisses injuries, ignores players, and pretends everything is fine when the refereeing is a joke. And then came the dagger. Engelbert told her that Caitlin Clark should be grateful the WNBA exists, because without it, she'd have nothing.
Well, let me clarify first, because it's proxy season, right? No CEO do you just put the base pay in there. You put their bonus, you put their stock options, you put everything. Caitlin has the ability to make up to $500,000 just in WNBA wages this year. So, of course, they're just looking at a base which is collectively bargained. And actually, it's low because she's the #1 pick. She'll make a little more than that. But she also has millions and millions of dollars of endorsements. She's actually, because she declared to become pro, her endorsements are higher in dollar value. She has a global platform now, not just a U.S. platform. So she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do. And it's all about the ecosystem.
Really, Cathy? Caitlin Clark was selling out arenas in college. She had sponsorships before she even left Iowa. She had more viewers tuning in for one college game than some WNBA playoff games have ever seen. And your bright idea is to tell her she should be grateful? That's like telling Taylor Swift she should be grateful to the karaoke bar for letting her sing.
Thank you all for your time today. I have prepared a statement that I would like to make before taking any questions. All right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates. At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
Lucky she's got a $16 million deal because of the platform the WNBA gave her. It is the single dumbest thing ever said by a sports commissioner in American sports.
It's absurd. And that arrogance is exactly why Adam Silver had no choice. Because here's the truth. Caitlin Clark saved the WNBA from being a forgotten league. She boosted attendance, ratings, sponsorships, and media deals. She brought new fans in droves, and instead of protecting her, instead of making her the centerpiece, Engelbert let her get hacked game after game, then fined anyone who dared complain about officiating. Even Fever head coach Stephanie White got fined just for agreeing with Cheryl Reeve. That's how bad it got. Coaches weren't allowed to tell the truth. Players weren't allowed to tell the truth. And fans who dared point out the nonsense got labeled as toxic. So Adam Silver stepped in, and make no mistake, this is not just about Clark. This is about the entire league spiraling because Engelbert couldn't connect with players, couldn't manage referees, and couldn't stop treating the WNBA like a corporate boardroom. Let's talk about the refs for a second. Fans have been screaming all season about the inconsistency. Players have been screaming all season about the physicality. And what did Engelbert say? We have the best refs in the world. Excuse me, best in the world. These are the same refs who couldn't call a flagrant if someone got body slammed through the scorer's table. Even Becky Hammond said it. If the NBA had this level of chaos, players would be throwing punches every night. But in the WNBA, it's allowed to slide because apparently, drama is good for the league. Yeah, drama is great until your biggest star is lying on the floor holding her ribs while ratings tank. Drama is great until players like Collier are out with ankle injuries. Drama is great until fans say, I'm done, and stop showing up. And that's exactly what happened. Ratings dipped, attendance outside Fever games stayed flat. Fans stopped tuning in to non-Clark matchup. And Engelbert just kept saying everything was fine. That's why Silver pulled the trigger. Because the WNBA was given a golden goose in Clark, and instead of protecting it, Engelbert practically roasted it over an open fire. Now let's address the timing. Some people will say Silver waited too long. Others will say he moved fast. I'll say this, he moved right when the league was about to implode. You can't have multiple players going viral blasting your commissioner. You can't have your MVPs and All-Stars calling leadership negligent, and you sure as hell can't have Caitlin Clark fans threatening to stop watching. This firing is as much about saving the WNBA as it is about punishing Engelbert, because let's be real, the NBA doesn't want to admit it, but Clark is their cash cow. She's the reason networks agreed to a massive media rights deal. She's the reason advertisers suddenly care. She's the reason seats are full. Without her, the WNBA is back to begging ESPN2 for a Tuesday night slot, and Engelbert had the nerve to belittle her. That's why she's out of a job. But let's not give Silver too much credit. He didn't suddenly discover Engelbert was bad at this. Players and fans have been yelling about it for months. No, this firing happened because the money was at risk. The NBA could see sponsorships slipping. Fans threatening boycotts, and rival leagues like Unrivaled gaining traction. If Clark had ever said, I'm done with this league, it would have been a death blow. Silver couldn't let it get that far, so Cathy's gone. And now the question becomes, who replaces her? This is where things get tricky. The league doesn't just need a business mind. It needs someone who understands basketball, who understands players, and who can build relationships. Because the next commissioner can't just be about cutting media deals. They need to restore trust. They need to make players feel valued instead of ignored. They need to make fans feel respected instead of dismissed. And honestly, that's a tall order because Engelbert left behind a mess. You've got angry players, disillusioned fans, refs with zero accountability, and a league office that's more interested in PR spin than reality. Whoever steps in next is going to have to start by cleaning up the officiating, because until that's fixed, nothing else matters. Now let's circle back to Caitlin Clark again, because make no mistake, this firing is about her. She is the center of the storm. Her treatment on the court, her dismissal off it, and her massive importance to the league are the reasons Silver finally acted. And here's the irony. Engelbert thought Clark needed the WNBA more than the WNBA needed her. Turns out it was the exact opposite. The league needed Clark, and now it needs to prove it values her before she decides she's better off somewhere else. So where does this leave us? A commissioner fired mid-scandal, a fan base fuming but hopeful, a league desperate to salvage its reputation, and a superstar in Caitlin Clark, who for the first time all season might finally feel like the adults in the room are taking her seriously. But don't think this fixes everything. Firing Engelbert is just step one. There's still a mountain of problems: bad officiating, inconsistent discipline, poor communication with players, and a culture of fines instead of accountability. The new commissioner has to flip that script fast. And one last thing before we move into part 2. Notice how fast Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull jumped into back Collier. That wasn't random. That was a coordinated revolt. The players smelled weakness at the top, and they pounced. And honestly, good for them, because without that pressure, without that public firestorm, Silver might have let Engelbert limp along. Instead, she's out, and the WNBA just changed forever. So here's where things really get interesting. Cathy Engelbert is gone, but the fallout is just beginning. Let's be clear, Adam Silver didn't fire her because he suddenly cares about players. He fired her because she embarrassed the league. When you have Nafisa Collier, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull going viral for blasting the commissioner, that's a problem you can't PR your way out of. Silver had to protect the NBA's investment. Because remember, this isn't just about women's basketball. The WNBA's media rights are tied directly to the NBA. Silver had networks lined up for billion-dollar deals. And when Engelbert made those tone-deaf comments about Clark being grateful, she put the NBA's leverage at risk. You don't mess with the golden goose. Now, let's talk about Clark again, because everything revolves around her. This is a player in her second year as a pro, not a rookie anymore. She's already carried the Fever to relevance. She's already broken ratings records. She's already the face of the league, whether other players like it or not. And what did Engelbert do? She dismissed her impact, dismissed her injuries, and treated her like a pawn in her little sustainability game. That's not leadership. That's sabotage. And Collier exposed it perfectly. She told us Engelbert literally said only losers complain about the refs. So all the Fever fans complaining? Losers? Coaches like Stephanie White who wanted consistency? Losers? Players getting hacked every night? Losers? That was Engelbert's mindset. And then she doubled down by saying Clark's endorsements only exist because of the WNBA. Give me a break. Clark had national sponsors before she ever touched a WNBA court. She was the most marketable college athlete since Zion Williamson. She sold out arenas, coast to coast. The league needed her, not the other way around. And that arrogance, that inability to see reality, is why she's unemployed today. Now here's where Adam Silver played it smart. He didn't just let Engelbert step down quietly. He fired her, made it clear that the NBA had lost confidence in her leadership. That's important, because it sends a message to players. The league office isn't untouchable anymore. You speak up, you can make change. Collier proved it. Sophie proved it. Lexi proved it. The pressure worked, but let's not kid ourselves. The problems aren't solved, because the WNBA still has a massive officiating issue. Fans aren't blind. They see the inconsistent whistles, the favoritism, the targeting, and firing Engelbert doesn't magically fix that.